Startup ecosystem, which has been developed by the government of India, is helping the country in an inclusive growth because of the schemes which are helping the rural poor and the rural population to develop their own companies. And the skills have been taken up by the skill ministry. So it's like a system where they're having a multi-pronged strategy. So they're skilling people and they're also asking them to have their own businesses so that the liability of the system towards taking care of these people is taken care of by they themselves. Besides the skilling, there is this risk-taking ability which is required to be nurtured in entrepreneurs. So we try to bridge the gap where the students and the rural populace is not aware of what the government of India has offered to them in that current budget, for instance. Similarly, they are very scared because it's like, risking their capital, risking their time, and like leaving their traditional professions and building up something different. So nurturing those new ideas and building that innovative capability and developing their risk-taking ability. So this personal mentoring, which actually gives them this expertise to develop their own ventures, is being done by us. So that's where we come in. Now, we being academicians can only give that life skill improvement to them. But what they need is like an insight into what kind of an industry they are walking into. So that is when we get them industry mentors. So the incubation center actually bridges a lot of gaps. It bridges the gap of all the government schemes, what the government has done, the schemes that are under the ease of doing business, the infrastructure facilities that the government has created, like the special economic zones and the export processing zones, which are offering a special ability for these new people who want to start up their own ventures. So getting them all this data. Similarly, you have this government e-marketplace, right? So nobody is aware that you can actually list up your products and the government becomes your client. And it is also transparent. So the transparency that the government has brought in has created a lot of confidence in all of us because we are aware of it, but we have to translate it down to the rural people who are not aware of it. So this awareness building is the first step. Once they're aware they want to do it, there is this risk. So we want them to get into this risk-taking ability. We help them. We don't just blindly ask them to start something. We do it in a guided manner. And that is when we have industry mentors who help them to build their own businesses. Last but not the least is agrarian businesses, right? Because like more than 50% of our economy is dependent on agriculture. And most of our population comes from that background. So it's we just had a grant for building up an STI hub. So we are actually getting into development of entrepreneurship at their own levels. We want our villages to be smart. We want our villages to be sustainable. And actually village economy has been quite green and sustainable. But now because of lack of resources and agriculture, which is dependent on climate, which is out of our control, obviously these people need employment. There is an increasing population in the villages. So we have growing villages, but we have to make them grow in a smart and sustainable manner. So we want to initiate startups where the villages are made more smart and sustainable and green. So they don't have to come to the urban places to sell their products. Their products can be consumed there and there. If there are some specialized products being produced, then we can help them with smart supply chain systems. So the government has its priorities in terms of infrastructure and basic sectors like education and skill development. So they're giving you these facilities, but translating it and operationalizing it and bringing it down to every single student studying in the villages or every single unemployed rural youth is where we step in. So we just blend all the facilities and the practices that the government is offering. And there are some government portals like MSME which also give you some sample reports, and they also give you some advices and some do's and don'ts of not doing a particular thing while you're starting a business. Similarly, there are these schemes where government gives you financial subsidies or some tax relaxations or some zero tax liability in case it's an export processing zone unit. So all these things have to be actually taken down to the villages because they do come to urban institutions, but they do not go to the villages. So that is where the task is. And given the location of our university, we are very close to the urban-rural blend here. So we cater to the city of technology, which is Gurgaon, where we have technology startups being nurtured by us. We also have startups which are completely rural, and they help develop the village economy. So we are trying to have a multi-pronged strategy of increasing entrepreneurship at both the urban and the rural level.